Young man, do you want to succeed, to expand beyond your horizons? If you want to be free, then you must learn to master yourself, your thoughts, feelings, your body and spirit. Master your subjective consciousness. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. The world outside of yourself is ruled by those who are not ruled by their base instincts. Young man, go forth into the world after this. Meditate, contemplate, then plan and execute an action towards success. Take a risk, break the rules, and be disciplined within self.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what draws behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising, convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is another Sunday, is it not? And just like that, just like we were never absent, case closed, highest level conversations on the most relevant topics in this space, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your sundial, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going, Dr. Thunder?
What's up? I'm doing all right.
All right. Out there in the Ohio states, how's the temperature these days? It's been like 100 degrees after day. It's like 106, 102 over here in the West Coast, California. How are you? How's it over there?
When I got up to go to church this morning, when we left the house, it was 44 degrees, high of 71 today. But let's see here. So we went on vacation for Labor Day weekend. Before we left for Labor Day weekend, it was a heat wave. My son plays football. I'm actually one of the coaches on his team, and we had to cancel, a couple practices, make practice short and stuff like this because it was so hot. Index was so high. We came back from Labor Day weekend and that was over. So the everything dipped like 20 degrees or something. And so we're sort of trending down. It's starting to feel more like fall weather in the Midwest.
Aha. Nice. Shout out to Zone. He knows what's up. He says white power. Yes, white power to you, sir. As well. Now, Kaizo, how's your microphone? Are you double dipping? Are you streaming on? There's something suspicious is going on with your behavior.
No. It's all good. It's all good. I'm here.
It's all good.
Noticed that he did not, answer the question.
Exactly. So I know what he's doing. He's he's collecting cash apps and super chats and kicking up dust at some other location. Speaking of dust, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be having a free flowing, informal conversation on some rather important issues. Some rather important issues, right? We're talking about the recent shooting in Georgia, school shooting. And this always brings up the perennial conversation about gun laws, gun control, what could be done, what could not be done. Are we moving in the right direction, or is it just a rehash time after time of the same old tropes, political footballs being kicked around, people talking about assault weapons and clip lengths and whatnot, those kinds of things? Are we moving in the correct direction of handling the problem at its root, whatever that may be, right? Perhaps the drug problem and the gun problem have a similar mode, a similar shape, in the sense that, in the same way that the war on drugs failed, perhaps the war on violence will fail as well if you do not handle people's root problems. But hey, let me not monopolize the conversation, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get into that along with other things. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and Elon Musk and RFK joining the MAGA conspiracy. He's yeah. You're not over there the MAGA conspiracy. But you know what? I'll be the MAGA guy. I'll be the MAGA guy for the show, right? Um, since you're officially an independent, not an independent, but a third party guy. Okay, I'll be the MAGA guy. I'll
Could
do
be
that.
tether mega.
I'll be the tether MAGA. Was it be something? Be
Wait,
something.
when was America great in that context?
Yeah, it's interesting. And actually, uh, what's his name? The uh, the rapper that was married to what's her name? Kardashian.
Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye. I don't know why I was spacing on his name. Kanye. It's funny because during the first time, and when Trump actually won that election, Kanye went to the White House, and he said, "Well, I think it's just black folks have an issue with the last A again. So if it was just make America great, I think that would be something that everybody could feel like they could get on board with. But when you say again, that's when folks say, well, it may have been good for some folks in all aspects, but for others, it wasn't as good in some respects, though it was better in others." So that was the point he was making, which I think is a good point.
Mm-hmm. As the tether MAGA, and to take the
No,
question
tether
seriously.
maggots, but tether maggots tend to be bootstrap bros. You tend to have the bootstrap bro pathology, in so you would be fine with make America great again, because when you get pressed about, you know somebody's trying to lump you in with some, some standard issue Negroes, you're quick to say, no, I'm Nigerian.
Yep,
Like that.
100%.
No, I'm not.
So, what if we take Kaizo's question seriously, though, about this when was America great type stuff? You see, obviously, there is, from the African American perspective, a notion of saying, well, it wasn't great when for me, it wasn't great for my ancestors. When was this time? Blah, blah, blah. And Dr. Thunder, the issue with that, right? If I say, if something was great at such and such a point, I'm talking about something about it that was great. I'm not trying to bring back everything. I'm sure you, Dr. Thunder, would like, as a generally conservative person, would like to look back and say, hey, you know what? I think things were better back then. And anybody can come at you now and say, "Oh, so you want to tie this one up in chains and you want to put that one back in the kitchen and you want to," it's like, we all know that distraction, right? But the fact is, America was great for these particular people whom we know, the basket of deplorables, the people whom are affected by the fact that the Rust Belt has been gutted out, the fact that they cannot afford to start families anymore, the fact that their real wages have not increased since the past 30 years. America was great when indeed the economic situations was better, when indeed the empire was higher up. There's certain objective facts. China is
Yep.
coming in. China is going to take over. That's the truth. That's the new day that we're in. Okay, the empire is in its twilight. It was great back then economically for these people, and after all, that's what they, so people tend to care about. I don't know. Any reaction on that since we're taking this
Yeah,
tangent?
no, I think that that is true, and I think but I think that the cause of that, I, I might argue, is equal parts Democrat and Republican, because if you think about um, the illegal immigration issue, um, and Trump brought up black jobs and all that. That was actually a legitimate point that he was bringing up. Um, but it wasn't just black jobs, right? The wages of other jobs have also gone down because of this illegal immigration issue, and Republicans like not to resolve this issue for different reasons than the Democrats. Uh, you know, because of wages, right? You can pay pennies on the dollar, cheap labor, and that cheap labor has been uh, that's been a big reason. It's been a big reason, and stuff like outsourcing has been a big reason. And there's lots of folks on the right that advocate for that. That's their practice. Um, so it's interesting, although I take the general uh, liberal sort of pushback against uh, MAGA, and these folks, they're not they're voting against their own interests and all this kind of stuff that gets said, to be partially true, but obviously, I think that higher taxes and making it more difficult for law-abiding citizens uh, to get by, that's also part of this.
Mm, mhm, mhm, mhm. Well put there. Well put there. One little thing about the people talking about people not voting their interest. It's always rather interesting. One would think, as a wanted to be good behavioralists when it comes to psychology, that people do what they do. Now, the best way to figure out what's going on with people is to see what they do. Um, so you see what they're doing, but you say, "Hey, you know what? They don't know what they need." It's always seems rather elitist. Now, that's just on one level. On the other level, there is that thing of, it's in the same line, right? But Obama talked about people holding on to their guns and their Bible. Well, maybe that's their interest, bruh. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe they don't care about the stuff that you're promising them. Maybe in their life over there in Appalachia, the thing that they got, the thing that gives them a good sense of life and connectivity and meaning and community is their guns and their Bible. That's their interest, right?
Yep.
But anyways, speaking of
And
guns.
frankly, many of the issues that we have today, um, if more people were clinging to their Bible, at least of those two things, we may be in a better sort of situation.
Mhm. Mhm, mhm, mhm. And yeah, and shout out to Spiritual Logic, who took us to the plane of the objective, the plane of the transcendental, the plane of the transtemporal when it comes to the nature of the good, right? So to uh when we're talking about, when was America great, when was it not great, and such and such and such. Uh However, let's start here. Let's talk about Georgia, okay? And basically Appalachian high school students, okay? They will not they will not resume school on Tuesday because something happened on Thursday, which was rather tragic. Um, and here's a little quote from the superintendent of that school district. right? Saying, yeah, the last week has been incredibly difficult time for us all. We're all still grieving, but at the same time, we must try our best to navigate the uncharted journey ahead of us. Because we're talking about the fact that there was a recent school shooting. 4 people dead, I believe, right, Dr. Thunder?
Yeah. So, 4 people dead, 9 additional people injured. It's not believed that the death toll will rise because the injuries were not critical, but they were gunshot wounds, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. 2 teachers, 2 teachers. One was a football coach, and the other was a female teacher. I think she might have been a math teacher, and then 2 students. One
Was any of them a basketball American?
Yeah, one of them was a basketball American, and the other one was what actually I don't think either one of them were Caucasians. Is that right? I think the other one is
Interesting.
so but apparently this kid was getting bullied at a previous school, and apparently perhaps bullying had continued, but the twist in this case, which perhaps will set up a new precedent for the way that these things are, they're dealt with in the future. So this kid was being bullied at a previous school. This school, Appalachia High School, was a new school. He was a brand new student at this school, and the previous school he was at, which was in a neighboring county, from a neighboring county that he was in, he was called in to account for some threats of going in and doing this kind of thing at a previous school. Now, they did not find him guilty of anything, but family members were brought in and questioned, are there guns on the premises? Do you have access? Does he have access to these guns? He says, oh, only under supervised situations. Now, after that exchange happened for the Christmas, let's say that that happened, say in, I don't know, end of the school year or something, May or something like that. In December, that following December for Christmas, the father gifts the kid who had all of these issues a rifle. And of course, that's the rifle that he used in this situation. So, so they charged the dad attempted red rum and what was it? Child negligence or something, and a bunch of counts of this. Is like 180 years or something of a potential time he could serve for all these crimes. So 4 counts of attempted murder, and then whatever the total number of folks that were shot. And, yeah, it's crazy. Now some people might think that this is a little bit overboard, but if you're going to be in a country where there's like 400 million guns and you're going to have all of these freedoms, then you have to be able to do something to prevent these kinds of things. And since they've decided that they're not going to take seriously, and although this particular school had metal detectors and had some of those things, there was some malfunctioning or something with that. So he was able to get this weapon in. It could have been a 2-man job. You could have had somebody let him in one of the side doors or something like that. One of these kinds of things could have happened. So, but I think it's 100% the right play to charge the parent.
Let's dig into that a little bit, right? As we go around the table here a little bit. Shout out to Game Changer. Thank you for joining us, sir. Because the other direction that people could go, I alluded to the general gun control type situation. And one could ask, right, what is, um, how do gun control laws in Georgia compare with other states? And what role does it play? Or what's the general kind of gun control play here? But basically, Georgia's gun laws are considered to be some of the weakest in the country, right? So people could attack that vector, right? And say, hey, we need to buckle down here. We need to change things. There's permitless carry. Uh, there's shoot first laws and all kinds of versions of stand your ground or castle laws, right? We know about those in the South. And people could go in that direction. But I think, as you may be alluding to here, Dr. Thunder, that going after the parents is going closer to the source, going closer to the root cause. Because after all, the idea of, you know, going using government policy as the tool, government policy, government rules, similar to the drug war on drugs that I mentioned before, as a way of attacking this might not be the right way to go there. So good start off point there, Dr. Thunder. But let me go ahead and get see what Game Changer's take on this is, right? And I haven't asked any question yet, Game Changer. We just talked about the fact that a 14-year-old. Oh no, it wasn't a 14-year-old. But we know the shootings that happened, and we just gave a background on it and whatnot. What are your general thoughts, Game Changer?
So it's generally speaking, the bullying thing is really something that needs to be addressed, and it's something that society has a very difficult time to address. Let's face it, not all men are created equal physically, and that inequality is more personified when it comes to young boys. You haven't had the chance to work out or completely grow into the man that you're going to be, and some of them grow faster and stronger than others, and which means that there's a difference, and as a result, bullying happens. There's also group bullying and things like that, to where even a young boy who's adequately capable of defending himself against one attacker can't do so against five. That's the unfortunate reality that young men have to deal with, and it's an unfortunate reality that parents of young men have to deal with. I think that the father did this. He did this thing. He allowed access to weaponry for his son because he was aware of the situation and he couldn't think of a better resolution. Should he be punished for that? I don't know, but that's a tough call.
Wait, hold on a second, Doctor. Game Changer. So you think is okay. So before you get to the should he be punished for it aspect, a rifle as a solution to bullying, what was that about? To toughen him up, to use the rifle to defend himself? I mean, would you do that? Is that a reasonable response?
No, I don't think that it's a reasonable response, and I don't think that he actually gave it to his son thinking that this would be the outcome. That's so. If I led you to that conclusion, that's not what I intended to do. What the conclusion I wanted it to, what I think he was doing was, this is to prepare you for, so you don't have to deal with such things later in life. This is so you can become stronger. This is, kind of like giving your kid martial arts lessons. You don't expect him to actually go back and use his newfound skills to bully others. You just like, this is a form of defense. This is
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think that he gave it to him with that intention, so he can learn and be an expert adult, and he don't have to put up with crap like this. So that's what I was along the lines of, and I think that the kid, and this is an extreme situation. And this is unusual, young person who was a college student and an engineering student like yourself, Ike, and like myself. And right at graduation, he just had it, and I forget which campus. I think it was like University of Michigan or something. And he just retaliated against the bullying. Now, so it's something that can happen in adulthood too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is an unfortunate problem. This isn't the proper solution. Let me make that point clear. But I do feel that the problem should be addressed, and it should be addressed before it gets this far. This isn't the only time an overly bullied. I don't want to call him weakling, but let's just call him outcast, retaliated in this way.
I see. I see. Yep. Very great submission there, as is said in some parts of YouTube by you, Game Changer. So, uh, Kaizo, okay, you may comment. Feel free to comment on anything that you've heard so far. And we have come to this point now where we're talking about, is the government the ideal solution to school shooting problem? Um, you might even ask, does America have a gun problem or other problems masquerading as a gun problem? Right. How about mental health resources and support systems in the Georgia school system and in families, that'll impact the likelihood of school shootings, right? Yeah, again, where can these improvements be made? Is this, a good step? In other words, taking the action against the dad. Go ahead. What are your thoughts, Kaizo?
Yeah, so I generally disagree about punishing the father. Look, did he break any laws? No. Simple as that, right? He didn't break any laws, unless he did, right? So the reality here is this, right? All these is conjecture, right? It's okay, well, he shouldn't have done it because his kid was part of some, Discord channel that wants to create violence. All of that is fine, but I think punishing fathers for things which are not really, which is not really criminally liable for, is going extreme. Now, you could take his father's license away from him, which I would agree with. If he has other children, perhaps remove those children from him, right? That is actually now reciprocal. But generally, putting him to prison and all that kind of stuff.
He's not. He's not in prison. I'm sure.
No,
I'm
I
100% certain that I don't know whether he's in prison or not, but I'm 100% certain also that the trial or whatever has not even happened yet. Okay.
Of course, right? But we're speaking in hypotheticals, right? Potentially putting him in prison for a crime that he didn't commit. I'm kind of against that. So, but I'm 100%.
Okay, so I want you to, which you might be doing next, is forget your silly little logic, fairness, whatever aspect, right? And speak generally about, well, why the hell you giving the 14-year-old a gun, knowing he has social problems? If you are a gun dealer of some kind, you're not, in a lot of states, you're not supposed to give guns to people that have issues. Now, we can talk about the spirit of that law, right? This is the child's father. Within the spirit of the law, the child's father knows this guy has social problems, right? Shout out to Mike V's comment there. So talk about that, and then talk whether in general, moving in this direction versus moving in the typical direction of talking about magazines and rifles and assault rifles, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead.
Let me put it this way, right? Okay, for you guys, you talk about guns, assault rifles, all these things. Fine, they're a little bit more dangerous, right? The same stuff happened in the UK. It almost happened to me as well, right? At some point, I got threatened on my life by some white guy because I stole his girl, and I considered getting myself a gun or some weapons to protect myself. So I think within that sort of light, it makes perfect sense to want to give someone a weapon to protect themselves, right? Whether they're going to use it, that's a whole separate issue. But this happens all the time in the UK. Someone gets threatened by gangs.
Okay, so you say you got
and they want to get themselves
because you try to take his girl. I think the story was different. I think you're probably threatened by somebody, and you gave up the booty. But anyways, go ahead.
Right. Yeah, so in the UK, this happens all the time. You go to a local, let's say, area. You have the area boys, whatever you want to call them. They obviously have knives. So other young boys out there wearing zombie knives and all these stuff. Yes, it's illegal. You don't have to have the necessity to want to use it, but having it, right? People knowing on the Discord channel that, hey, I actually have a gun, etc. That scares people. So logically, the spirit, I'm not against the spirit of wanting to protect yourself. The issue is obviously if the kid is showing signs of weakness, signs of not really being, mentally all there, then obviously it's negligent. It's all the bad words you can think. But I don't think the father should face any legal liabilities. He's not a gun dealer, right? He gave a present, a gift. If that's allowed, then it's allowed. However, he should lose his father's license. That one I 100% agree with.
His father's license. Okay, good. I didn't know they were giving licenses for fatherhood. You got your daddy license. Anyways, Lion Legal. Okay. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How have you been? Are you cool, calm, collected today, or are you coming with a grudge to fight the other panelists?
Oh boy.
Okay, okay.
Well, I saw you talking about legal issues, so therefore my spidey sense started tingling.
Okay, okay. So, do you have any thoughts about what recently occurred in Georgia? School shootings, gun laws. We've talked about the fact
Yeah,
that perhaps the government might not be the best way to solve the problem. It might be similar to the drug problem. We need to go closer to the root cause, psychological, families, childhood issues, bullying, and all that kind of stuff. Stop giving people Ritalin, all those kinds of things. What are your thoughts?
yeah. I saw that they charged the father of the school shooter with second degree murder, and that they also did the same for a school shooting that took place last year. The issue is that with second degree murder, or I believe felony murder is essentially participating in a crime in which you are aware that the other person may likely kill someone. That is how essentially you cast out a um, catch-all law, which allows you to now get people that participate in criminal groups such as gangs, etc. The issue is, what proof did they have that the father knew that the son was going to commit this act? Because with criminal laws, you have to be very careful, and you don't want laws that abrogate a person's right to free will and simply cast them as criminal because you dislike them. So, unless he had first-hand information that his son would actually go out and commit the crimes that the son did, unless there was actual proof of that, are you going to now take that law and apply it logically to other situations in which people have bad children? For example, if a child is drinking a lot and then they go on a highway and they get in an accident, or if the kid assaults people, can you apply that the same way? So I'm not exactly sure what the intention of the prosecutors are in that particular instance, to be honest, because a felony murder charge is not easy to
Yeah, I
prove.
agree.
It is a difficult and a very serious charge.
Okay, well put there, well put there. And to the point that I made to Kaiser earlier, and as you know very well, Lion Legal, they charge people with things, and then they go into court, and then there's plea bargains, and no one is really actually trying to go to trial, generally speaking. And then if it goes to trial, and then we'll see how it plays out and the arguments. And sometimes novel arguments are brought up, and sometimes they work, especially when they have a political aspect to them. And as the resident Tether MAGA, I'm going to say that the prosecutor that convicted Trump of 34 felonies did use some novel legal ways to collect those things and turn them into felonies. But anyways, I digress. I digress. Dr. Thunder, okay? Now, you started, you started out with the summary of the case. You talked about the fact that, hey, they're going after the parents. Now, the particulars of the way in which they're going after the parents, which is a sideshow, a street fight, and a little alley, right, has been hashed out. But the main idea, perhaps you can take us back to the main idea of the parents, the families, the Ritalin, the childhood, if you will, as being where the solution might be. What are your thoughts on that in general?
Yeah, I I addressed this. I covered this on Friday. This business, and I used a funky academic video, the funky academic, um, to contextualize, and he made a pretty aggressive assessment. Um, he said that he he says that white liberals are the worst parents in in the United States. And the reason he says that is because there's a tendency um, to blame some sort of diagnosis, some sort of, I can't control my kid. I don't know what they're going to do. You can't prevent them from being influenced by certain things or getting their hands on certain things, like this. And the thing is that parents are to be responsible for their kids, right? So up until the kid is 18 years old, the parent is responsible for everything that the kid does. If the kid goes and damages somebody's property, guess what? The parents have to pay for it. When my kid does something and breaks something in my house, I have to pay for it, right? If you break something in somebody else's house, I have to break for it. I have to pay for it. If he acts a fool in public, that reflects on me, right? That it reflects on me. That means it's been poor parenting that allowed the kid to believe that it was okay, to act that way in public, to treat other people with disrespect, to have a disregard for human beings, and in this case, to have a disregard for human life. Now it would be one thing if nothing ever happened. This kid was not having social issues, social problems. Parents are supposed to know everything that's going on with their kids. And we allow our kids, especially a certain segment of the population, allow our kids to be raised by electronics, iPads, iPhones, and we don't do an adequate job. Certain folks don't do an adequate job of policing and making sure that what it is that they're doing is not, gaining them access to stuff that is too mature for them, stuff that's going to damage them in a way that you can't return from there. There's a lot of really nasty and disgusting stuff on the internet, and we know that, for instance, free prawn, all kinds of aggressive prawn, all kinds of disgusting, all kinds of anything that you want, any kind of EPAR simulation, anything that you want is online, and all you have to do is to say that you're 18, and it's free. Okay, so a lot of parents, in general, the funky academic, his assessment is that in general, parents are terrible. In the United States, parents are terrible. But he specifically was focusing on the white liberal because of the tendency to try to placate, to put it on someone else, to act as if to try to act as if it's somebody else's fault, like they can't control the situation. How are they going to be held responsible for something they didn't even know was going on? This kind of stuff. Well, it's your responsibility to know. We have the system now where the kids are being raised by childcare. I saw a I think I was watching CGA, and he was playing a video of this childcare worker that was talking about how terrible these parents are, and that their kids actually, in many cases, are calling the childcare workers dad and mom because they see them way more often than they see their parents. Parent could pick their kid up at 3, but instead they wait until 6 o'clock, because they need to get some me time, and this kind of crap. If you're going to have kids, then you need to take responsibility for those kids. In this situation, just looping back to this particular situation, the kid got called in, and the parents got called in because he was making threats of doing a school shooting at another high school. This is this school that he was at. He was a new student at this school. Okay, so he hadn't even been in school for a month at this school and went and did this. But he was questioned about these threats that he made previously, and they questioned the dad saying, "Look, do you have guns?" He says, "Yes, but they're locked up. He never has access unless being supervised X, Y, and Z." And then after that, after this interaction with the police and these questions about this kid, and we don't know what he has access to. Obviously, they probably are doing the same thing. He's probably on technology, probably watching, probably on some violent video games all the time, probably, watching prawn, all the time, probably everything else. On top of that, being bullied. And it's not just about being physically bullied. You can be cyber bullied. Cyberbullying is way worse than being physically bullied, because you can't get away from it. Right? You can't get away from it. So
What?
look, the dad knew that there was a problem and then gifted him a rifle. After that stuff went down, gifted the kid a rifle. And so that is, I think that's cause for the arrest to be made. Now, I don't know how many of these charges are actually going to stick, but it does need to be serious. It needs to be, serious charges to, prevent this stuff from happening. Somebody has to take responsibility for it. And you have all these teenage boys running around shooting schools up and stuff. Somebody's got to take responsibility.
Yeah, but there's a difference from the child endangerment charges that Colin Gray is faced with versus
Colton Gray.
second degree
Colton Gray's
versus the second degree murder charge that he is faced with, especially given the fact that the court would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, the jury or the judge, assuming they choose a judge alone trial, would have to find the father guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which is close to near certainty, and would also bear the assumption that the father felt or knew or was indifferent to the prospect that his son was actually going to carry out these threats, even though he had not done so in the past. So from a legal perspective, the child endangerment charges are going to be much easier to prove. But proving somebody knew that their son was going to go out and commit the atrocity that they did, proving that beyond a reasonable doubt, I don't think is going to be easy to prove, especially if the fact finders are taking their job seriously, because you would have to now ensure that you are satisfied the
but I don't think
person
that's
who
I don't
the
think that's
person
the point,
who
though.
the person who gave that child the gun basically knew what was going to occur.
Wait, hold on. Lion
Yeah, but
Legal.
that's not the
Unless
point.
I'm sorry. Go. Yeah. Let me just say this real quick, Dr. Thunder, and then I'll shout out the super chat, and then I'll let you land the plane, and we'll move on to the next topic. But Lion Legal, unless your point is that this is just a waste of the time in terms of the legal proceedings and whatnot, then, as I mentioned earlier, after you made this point earlier, then it has to run through the system, right? If indeed this is hard to prove, as all kinds of stuff that you get charged with is hard to prove, and then it gets kind of changed and whatnot, then there is no point, unless your point is to say, well, this is just going to be a waste of time, right? So if there is no way for it to stick, then it won't stick, right?
Well, my point is that we have to be very mindful and have a sober view of what an appropriate charge is in certain situations, because not everybody can afford good, reputable defense counsel, and you get a lot of people who are either now, not in this case, I'm not talking about this case, but in other cases, who are wrongfully convicted, a lot of people who are not able to defend themselves. And that is why, especially on the federal side, as far as federal courts are concerned, the federal system has a 97% plus conviction rate. It's not because they are doing well in trial. It is because, given the penalties that people face when they're in that system, they think to themselves, obviously they don't want to spend the rest of their life in prison, even if they are innocent, even if they are not guilty at all. So an appropriate charge is what people must have in mind in situations like these. And having children is very difficult. Obviously, the father has done a poor job in this case. That is abundantly clear and self-evident. But there are parents that actually do a good job, actually do the best for their kids. But hey, in a country where guns are readily available, I don't think it would have been incredibly difficult for that kid to get hold of a gun if he had the money or he had the connection. So,
Okay.
let's, yeah.
One second. And that was a slight non sequitur. In this case, it was the dad's responsibility in terms of how the gun got to the kid. Yeah, he could have gotten it somewhere else, right? That's also true. But Dr. Thunder,
Okay.
I'm gonna wait. Hold on a second, because it was Dr. Thunder has the floor. Let me shout
Yeah.
out the super chat real quick first, Dr. Thunder, because
Yeah.
shout out to Van Kaiser also did something. Nice. Shout out to One Man Went to Mo for the, I believe, $2 or £2, whatever it was. Much appreciated. He says he overwhelmingly, vehemently disagrees with everything. And shout out to Kaiser as well. I think that's a little less than $1.99, but who's counting? But Dr. Thunder, go ahead and land the plane, and then we'll move on. Sorry.
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying, Lion Legal. Now my point is not about if the charge sticks or not. Now, ultimately, I think something is going to stick, but I think the optics of throwing the kitchen sink at the guy hopefully serves as an incentive for parents to take responsibility and to do what's necessary, because too often what's happening is this stuff happens and then everybody around the kid acts like they're totally surprised. Oh my goodness, this just came out of nowhere. Oh, it's always that same thing. But if people are actually paying attention, there are always signals. There's always signs of this stuff. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that just anybody around the kid should take a responsibility for it, but certainly a 14-year-old kid, somebody that is not an adult, who apparently is being tried as an adult now. I wonder if that's going to stick even. We know ninjas get charged as adults all the time. You can be 12 or 13 or something and get charged as an adult as a ninja. But it's not often that white boys get charged at 14 as an adult. So we'll see how much of the stuff sticks and if stuff gets modified, but I think it's the right move to really throw something aggressively at this, because the real issue is poor parenting. Poor parenting, I think, is what is disproportionately is at fault for producing all this stuff. And you could say, yeah, he could have got guns somewhere else. Yes, I take that, and I recognize that that's true. However, even though that is the case, you certainly have to address this particular case where the gun came from the parent. And it has been the case also in many of these cases where the kid got the guns from family. Now, maybe they stole the guns. In this case, the guns were gifted. But still, if the kid is staying with you, then you should know what the heck is going on.
Parents of the
hold on a second. Was Game Changer, were you trying to interject?
Yeah, I want to ask Dr. Thunder, should the parents of the bully go to jail for assault, provided that the bullies physically assaulted the kid?
Here comes the logic, people, with their logical propositions. If then, and then if, and it's like, why are you guys pretending like we don't know what we're talking about here? Well, anyways, answer the question quickly, Dr. Thunder.
Sure. I think if it could be shown that the parent, I don't know, the kid gets bullied, the dad says something like, the next time that happens, you break this baseball bat off, over their head, and the dad is also semi abusive and stern with the kid. So the kid feels like if I don't do something, then I'm going to be in trouble at home. Then yeah, sure. Then the parent should be arrested if you can show that. But I think you have to pick your spots. Unfortunately, and I struggled with this when I covered the story on this past Friday. I struggled with it because I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the picture of this kid on the thumbnail, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to use his name in the title. I didn't put his name in the title, and but I did hashtag his name. I struggled with that because I think part of the reason why these these deranged individuals do this stuff is because they want attention, and so they end up getting a lot of attention, and they would have been totally invisible, but now everybody's talking about them, even if it's in the worst possible way. They don't feel invisible anymore. And then one point I also made this past Friday was there's all this talk about how incels are being radicalized and all like this, and in these deranged individuals going and shooting stuff up, or a lot of them are incels and like this. Well, let me tell you, with how sort of messed up the whole dating environment is now, it is likely that because he's got all of this notoriety now, he's going to have an unending supply of letters from women in prison, conjugal visits and everything else. He could probably easily get married now.
Yes, and you can get conjugal visit prawn as well, along with your aggressive hentai. Isn't that right, Kaizo? No.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, well, we have to move on. It's already been an hour, and we need to get to the next topic, which
just
is
30 seconds.
Okay, you get 30 seconds, sir. Go ahead.
I think I would like to say that I agree with what Dr. Thunder said, and certainly the father should be charged. Absolutely, completely agree with that. He will probably be convicted of the child endangerment charges. As far as the more serious charges, I guess if he doesn't plead guilty, we will see if he is actually convicted of those. But I think the overarching issue is exactly how to stop the scourge of mass shootings constantly taking place. And charging the parent, I think, might be one way of trying to deal with the problem. I'm not sure that is the only way to solve the issue.
Nice. You were probably looking at the clock as well, because I was looking at the clock and it was exactly 30 seconds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be moving on. But first of all, let me go ahead and acknowledge a couple of things. Well, first of all, shout out to the super chats again. The super chat button works. The channel is indeed monetized. And if you enjoy these conversations, case closed 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? Every Sunday, this channel or on Dr. Thunder, the co-host's channel, right? Highest level conversation on the most relevant topics. Go ahead, put your money where your mouth is. Drop a couple of dollars, your comments, your thoughts, your questions, always well appreciated. And yes, Nagone, it is, as the resident Tether MAGA, I'm telling you, it is the liberals that are responsible. As a matter of fact, you are personally responsible, Nagone. But anyways, moving on from that, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with RFK, right? I don't know, Game Changer, if you know that, if anyone has been, first of all, let me ask, just by show of hands, by voice or something, is anyone a fan of RFK now? And RFK Jr., that is, right? Not the dead one. RFK Jr. Any fans, anyone whom finds his particular project to be, appealing? I, for one, his idea of Make America Healthy Again, the whole thing about focusing on childhood chronic disease, which have shot up in recent times in the West, right? And the reasons why that may be the case, are arguable. People can talk about whether it's vaccines or definitely we know the American food is horrible and whatnot. But the fact that he calls, both in his private practice, calling out people in the industry, big pharma and otherwise, and the things that he's trying to bring to the forefront. Any fans of RFK Jr. on the panel?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
there's stuff that he's into that I'm not into, but yeah, on that, especially the chronic health piece, and also in the sort of getting disentangled around the world as far as you know, nation building and all of that. Uh, I'm in agreement with RFK.
I'm in
Shout out.
agreement with the things that he says, but I'm indifferent to the person himself. Yeah.
Gotcha. Spiritual logic. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Thank you very much. Says for the high level conversations or for the high level discussions, showing support to dropping $5. He's got 5 on it. Thank you very much. Now, so RFK, if you let him tell it, right? He was railroaded, Well, let's not go ahead and let me just go ahead and characterize it this way. He is disillusioned with the Democratic Party, right? And he has decided to come up with have some kind of a pact with Donald J. Trump. He's not officially joining the Trump campaign, but he's going to align with him on certain issues that they agree on, and then they're free to criticize themselves on other issues that they do not agree on.
Also, Tulsi Gabbard, don't forget that.
Gotcha. Yes. This is also true. So perhaps I could start here with Game Changer, right? What are your thoughts, right? Because basically, let me just put some markers down on the table for people who may not be, clear on it. I mean, the way I put it was that RFK has joined the MAGA conspiracy, right? And RFK claims that he's going to align with Trump on 3 critical issues, ending the war in Ukraine being one of them. The military industrial complex is not going to like that. The international order, NATO and such, not generally going to like that. Ending censorship, that's a broad topic. We know that Mr. Pavel, I forget his last name, Pavel Dudorov, the founder of Telegram, got arrested somewhere outside the United States. And some are speculating that it is a signal to send a chilling effect to maybe Elon Musk and others that are, allowing certain things to be said, spreading hate, as some might put it, and then addressing childhood chronic disease. These are the 3 issues: Ukraine, ending censorship, and addressing the childhood chronic diseases. What are your thoughts on these positions? What are your thoughts on RFK? Do you think he was railroaded by the Democrat Party? What are your thoughts regarding him now joining the MAGA conspiracy, if you will, beginning with Game Changer?
Okay, so the 3 things. Let's end with the most important to me, and that's chronic childhood disease. The other is Ukraine. Let's start there. Ukraine. I don't feel that America should intervene in non-NATO disputes. So I'll leave that, where it is. I know that that's something that Trump wishes to do. He probably believes that there is economic reason for doing something like that, and there likely is that I'm unaware of. But I think that we should stay out of that, as we have this election. What was the third? What was the third pillar?
The 3rd pillar was the childhood chronic diseases, right? Including the diabetes one, right? I believe type 1 diabetes and whatnot, and other kinds of things. Go ahead.
Oh no, but there's a third one.
Oh yeah, so the 3rd one then would be the middle one. It's about censorship. Basically, going against the censorship machine to the degree to which you understand what that is, right? And obviously, if you're
Right.
to the left or to the right or wherever, wherever you woke up in a particular morning, you're going to take a different kind of view of what some people might say. Hey, what do you mean the censorship machine? There's nothing going on, right? But if you understand what that means, what are your thoughts on it?
Okay, so treason is illegal, and it is punishable by red room. So, or whatever you want to call that. It's punishable by deletion, and that could be considered a form of freedom of speech. There is a line to which censorship has always existed, even in the U.S., where we have freedom of speech, which was founded on freedom of speech. Censorship has existed. Treason is illegal. Therefore, I think that the question of censorship is, where is the bar? where is the bar and what can and should be censored and what shouldn't be? And I think that the people who are in charge of creating that may be corrupt and have their own designs on how they want to control the minds of the nation. When the Constitution was written, the concept of the internet and everybody having a digital microphone that spans throughout the world, of course, didn't exist. The biggest threat was the printing press. Before that, it was a guy yelling on the streets that could cause an insurrection, and it did. I mean, that's what the American Revolution was. It was an insurrection against Great Britain. So, it's words are dangerous, and yes, there should be a line. However, to find the responsible individuals to write that line is the difficult part that the nation would face.
Another quick thing there on that. Yeah, so definitely drawing lines is always tough, and knowing whom should be drawing these lines. Should it be more of a top down versus a bottom up, and all those other kinds of things. But also when it comes to responsibility, the founder of a company, and the things that are said on their platform. So people go wild on Facebook, and then Zuck is responsible, and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that aspect, right? Should founders be held responsible for things said on the platforms they created?
Yes. If once again, if it is established, who is drawing the lines of censorship, and you give a microphone to somebody who is crossing those lines, then absolutely, maybe not the CEO, but those who are in charge of, kind of like, we have a Food and Drug Administration. If someone crosses those lines in the restaurant that they own, then they're held responsible. However, there is no clear line. Then you can't draw the line and then attack the people who have crossed them. Recently, who was it? Lauren Southern and Lauren Chan. A bunch of Laurens and a bunch of people were arrested for receiving donations, sponsorship, et cetera, from the former Soviet head nation. I don't know if I can mention that country here. They got they're arrested for these, and these are pretty sizable channels. They were arrested for taking money to spread certain propaganda. And I was like, wow. So there is a line, and right now the line is if you receive money from foreign nations, but if you make clear that you cannot talk about this in this way, in spite of the freedom of speech laws, you cannot, you cannot rebel rouse, you cannot spread these particular ideals that could be dangerous to the individuals in the nation and the nation itself. Then, and you still allow or you still deliberately facilitate for people to do that, then yes, you should be held responsible.
All right. Thank you very much there.
So the third thing, because remember,
so let me. I'm sorry. Are you gonna say something else? Are you talking to someone else? I don't know.
No, I was talking to you. I was saying the third thing because I didn't know if you was going to go to the next person, but I wanted to cover the third thing. That was the one I was saving for last.
I see.
Childhood.
So childhood, right? Chronic diseases. One could generally put it under the health care, pharmaceutical insurance companies, radiation, blah, blah, that whole thing, whereby we know, and maybe I can give some kind of personal context, right? Generally speaking, it's at least in the past few years, I've been like half the year in the United States, half the year outside the United States. And there is a difference, not just in what I see and taste, touch and smell in terms of the food and whatnot, but in my health, the resulting health that would be associated with the food intake and all these other kinds of things that we intake. And it's anybody, with a couple of brain cells living in America knows this. They may not have left the United States to know that, generally speaking, we're getting screwed over here regarding the quality of the food. I'll give a silly, trivial example, which people have heard of. You could go to Burger King in freaking Ghana, okay? And it's way better, way fresher than Burger King over here. Like, what the hell is up with that, right? So basically, childhood chronic diseases and the increase of that. What are your thoughts on?
Okay, so yes, there is a there there. I'm not as traveled as you, and I've never been to Africa, but I can tell you that in my travels, food has a lot less. There's actually memes out there. They show a box of Fruit Loops in England, and its ingredients there, and the same Fruit Loops, and I think they call it Fruity Loops or something. Kaiser will help me with that, but they call it something different, but it's still the same brand. And they show the same thing here in the U.S., and it's about twice as many chemicals and additives and things like that. There's definitely a there there. Corn is something that naturally grows here in the U.S., as opposed to in things like sugar only grows certain places like Jamaica, Hawaii, Mississippi, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not as easily cultivated here. So there are industries that want to push corn syrup over cane sweeteners, which is a lot worse for you because your body doesn't know how to process it. There is a lot that is overlooked, partly because the FDA doesn't really care, or maybe they're being bought off. Maybe there's some corruption involved. The FDA, obviously, it's in their best interest to sell us junk or sell us something that can be preserved longer. Therefore, it's not as fresh, but you can make more of it because you don't have to, you don't have to sell it and quickly. And if it doesn't get sold, then it turns into waste immediately. So there's definitely a motivation behind it, and it has gone overlooked. You mentioned Burger King. I think that ketchup was something else that's highly processed here in the U.S. And there it simply is what it is, made out of natural ingredients. So there is definitely a there there. Now, it there is a power behind it. The Food and Drug Administration is the power. Excuse me, the snack food industry is the power behind this. And I remember, I think it was 2010 when Michelle Obama wanted to speak against this. She was supposed to be an advocate, and she still was, to her defense, advocate for childhood health. She went after. She didn't really go after anything. She was just talking to the kids and the parents of the kids about nutrition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, by the end of his first administration, she changed her tone to talk more about fitness. The child should be active. So it was clear because of her change that somebody has said, no, you cannot speak against, healthy, you cannot speak for healthy eating of children. You can't do this because it's cutting into the bottom line of Hostess. It's cutting into the bottom line of Doritos. It's cutting into the bottom line of these companies. Just tell the kids to work out or something, but still get fat. So there is a there there. I do appreciate that he has the courage to stand up against these industries, including big pharma. Um, is that something that go for it?
No. You were going to land, so you're going to equivocate. Is it something that blah blah blah? Go ahead.
Well, no. So going after large industries is something that the Democratic Party has been known for in the past 5 decades. But they typically go after them for different reasons: work conditions, pay gap, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, pay disparity, DEI. For whatever reason, they go after them for a number of different reasons. But the health of their children hasn't been one of them. So I don't know if he was standing on the Democratic soapbox when he was doing this, but it is something that definitely needs to be done.
I see. Okay, so and thank you very much. Thoroughly addressed. Let me ask Kaizo something that is also a part of this package, which is that Trump talked about Elon Musk, right? We're talking about the new, or shall I say, interesting MAGA conspiracy additives, and we just addressed, and we will continue to address when we get to Dr. Thunder here, the JFK Jr., RFK Jr., I should say, aspect. But Trump talked about using Elon as head of a federal government audit, right? So to kind of clear out the administrative state, aka the deep state, right? Now, why is that interesting? Well, first of all, to talk about clearing out, drain out the swamp is an old kind of thing. And for people talking about, cutting agencies and whatnot, that's a typical, shall I say, Republican ploy and whatnot. But for it to be Elon is rather interesting because we know that he is the kind of person that will go in and cut 80% of stuff. However, though, this is just going to be some committee if it does happen, and they'll have recommendations. And does it mean that it will happen? And speaking of RFK, with the deep state, if you follow certain lines of the story, these are the people who killed both RFK and JFK. You're not gonna let Elon come in there and write some whatever, and then have um, their budgets and their administration kind of cut and whatnot. What are your thoughts about this? Right? Is it just fluff? Is it just like a typical thing? Is Elon gonna go in there if Trump wins and have some kind of report about, because basically saying the whole federal government, all its agencies, a full audit, budget and otherwise, right? What are your thoughts about this kind of stuff, Kaizo?
Yeah, look, as you mentioned earlier, I think actually someone like Elon, if he was to do the job properly, he'll probably be able to make it more efficient, get rid of dead weight, and basically save money and whatever. Um, Give advice on how that money can be better sort of spent. However, as you mentioned also about the deep state, it is very unlikely he's going to be able to do that job for various different reasons, right? Elon might not care about money. He has FU money, but he does actually care about his business ventures. And remember, Elon is a state creation, just like other billionaires are, such as Dangote from Nigeria, meaning his contracts for SpaceX, these things can be removed by this same deep state, who actually have indicted him on a couple of things. And this, I think, this periodic sort of indictment, they're there just to kind of remind us people that, hey, look, we are kind of the ones in control, in power. You can't step too close to the sun. You're not whatever, right? Don't step too close to the sun. So yeah, I think you could definitely suggest things to make it run just as efficient. Twitter is a perfect example. I mean, everyone was talking about how it's dwindling in stocks and everything, but it survived actually rather well, and it still has a lot of political influence, especially around the world, in certain countries. So ultimately, I don't know if he's going to be able to do his job because of certain leverages that they actually have over him, which is on these government contracts for his business ventures.
Yes, 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 yes. And by the way, and I might follow up here. Shout out to Ja. Shout out to Ja. Thank you very much for the $5 super sticker. And is that a Shiba Inu? Yeah, I have a few Shiba Inu coins myself in terms of the whole cryptocurrency thing, blah blah blah. We'll see what happens after Jerome Powell does the rate cuts later on, and let's see if we can get another run like we did in 2020, where we can take money from the boomers. Ain't that right, guys? Yeah, it's all about taking money from those damn people these days. Anyways, so Dr. Thunder, and I'm assuming you've landed the plane. Kaiser, do you have anything to say about RFK Jr. and his shift towards the MAGA thing? Any general thoughts? Would you do something like that? What are your thoughts about somebody who would do something like that? Any thoughts?
Yeah. So I'm not. Look, at the end of the day, I think it takes me time before I can actually kind of see if the move was worth it, if there was other strategic points within the move. Think of it this way, right? Trump was always loved by the left, right? All the time, rappers, everyone. He had to choose a side in order for him to win his nomination, right? To win his presidency. So ultimately, I can't really comment too much on that. I don't know the guy's strategy long term, so I think I'll just wait for it to sort of uncover. But I did want to make a comment about accountability, culpability, and I think I mostly want to link this point. The CEO of Telegram, he was arrested, Mr. Durov, right, in France, and actually charged on some crimes and stuff. It reminds me of this school shooting. The reason I say that is because, well, at what level do you stop these for culpability? Is it only stop at the individual level, or do we hold other institutions at fault as well? For example, he's being charged by allowing CP on his platform, criminal actions such as drug dealing, etc., happening on Telegram, right? And these things do happen there. I'm sure people claim they do, right? So they probably do. Now, here's the point: why hold him responsible? Why not hold the internet service providers who provide the internet? It's just all I'm saying is, right, with these things, holding people responsible for things. I'm not too sure. I agree with more government oversight and outreach on things which are beyond the individual um, control. And especially, I mean, there's certain laws when it comes to like incorporating of a business. If you're a limited company, you are protected from certain things. So overreach of government and all that stuff. I want to be consistent, right? I don't want to be contradicting myself based on specific issues.
Well put, well put, well put. Yes, and laws are there to be broken, right? People are not going to put, and there's a reason for the proliferation of laws, because you can selectively apply them. You can selectively prosecute, right? You can allow people to just break all kinds of rules, but then you can pick this particular one person. I'm going to pick Sean Wallace, Dr. Thunder. I'm going to hit you with the book. You technically did break all these laws and whatnot, right? Yeah. So, Dr. Thunder, we're talking about RFK. We're talking about MAGA. Game Changer, do you want to interject something? Or maybe not. But we're talking about RFK. We're talking about MAGA. We're talking about the three pillars that he says he wants to stand with Trump on. And that has to do with censorship, Ukraine, and health, let's just say. Make America healthy again. Make America healthy again would be his stance in that regard. And then talking about cleansing out the administrative state. Is this something that actually can be done? Always this Elon Musk stuff kind of fluff. I think that when I say my thoughts on the Elon Musk thing are, even if it's not fluff, it practically is going to be only the beginning of a long slug that might take 10 consecutive administrations to occur. And what are the chances that 10 consecutive administrations will have the same goal against this one ship of state, administrative state, that always has, generally speaking, the same goal? I mean, there are people whom have said, and pointed the hands directly towards the certain people in CIA and whatnot at the top floor of the CIA that actually run the country. And it's not that crazy. I mean, we understand how things have to be administered. And when you have, these people whom are there for a long time and they have a lot of power and influence and whatnot, and they're human beings, yes, they're going to want to control things. Plus, by the way, as I heard recently, somebody said, and this is not a person, this is an anti-deep state person, let's just put it that way. But they said, look, think about it, man. Maybe if you allow somebody to disrupt the workings of the international order and the deep state, maybe it might lead to nuclear proliferation. Maybe, trying to come in and mess with the deals that we have regarding NATO and whatnot, and trying to see where the bodies are buried, might cause, anthrax to spread. You don't know the kinds of blocks and stops and this and that's, right, that the administrative state, the international order has put in place such that things are safe and continue to run, right? So it's not just necessarily the case that these guys are just kind of power hungry bastards and whatnot. But anyways, Dr. Thunder, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. Well, if I can talk about the Elon thing, so I don't think it's not very likely that, say, Trump wins, that Elon is going to be in his cabinet. That's not very likely. But what is possible is that he sort of weighs in on some things, and makes some strong suggestions, to which I think that Elon is the kind of guy that Trump would actually listen to. So, you can put that wherever you want to, wherever you want to put that. There's very few people it seems like he's willing to actually listen to. That was one of the things that former members of his cabinet would say, is that he just basically doesn't listen to what people are saying. He does stuff that he wants to do, and there's very few people that can get him to actually change what he plans to do. So anyhow, that's that. But Elon, I think he would listen to, and I think also RFK is the kind of guy that I think he would listen to. I think he would listen to RFK. So more than what they seem to align on, more than that, I think that these are folks that he likely would take their counsel. And I think it would be good counsel. So I take it to be positive.
Excellent. So we're gonna approach the last topic today. Okay, right? And shouldn't be. And this has to do with Senate committee talking about a bill, putting a bill out there regarding drafting women. And different people are coming with their different canned goods regarding responses or even knowledge on this kind of stuff. But the general question I want to ask is, and start with Game Changer here. Well, in whose interest is this? And it seems to be that it's like coming from the Democrat side. And why is anyone trying to draft women from a practical standpoint, political standpoint? What's the game going on here, Game Changer?
The game in this is that they want to say that women are giving equal effort and equal value to the military. Let's be clear. That is never going to be the case, ever. It's it's a symbolic thing. No one is ever going to actually draft women to fight in a legitimate war. I'm not talking about whatever we get into now where we're like, number one as far as, military spending and, military, and the next country is like 1/35th of what we have. I'm not even talking about that type of war. I'm talking about like a real thing that you can actually lose. They're not if why weren't they asking for this when the guys were on the beach of Normandy or some crap like that, or in Vietnam? Like, to say it now, like, oh yes, we want to draft. Come on now, is it realistic? It's not a real thing. It's a symbolic thing, so they could say that, because we are now eligible for the draft, then we deserve more feminist crap, additional feminist crap that we have been getting, since forever, because we now are putting in equal fight for this country, and they haven't. They're saying that we want, yeah, that's all it is. It's just symbolic, so they can ask for more crap. It is, that's the truth of it. It's symbolic, so yeah, because right now the counter argument that a lot of people who are anti-feminists are saying is that more provision should be given to those who are able to be called to fight for this country, the protection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now they just want to have a counter argument to that, but they don't actually want to fight. They don't actually want to get in the fields, get in the trenches. They don't want to get their nails dirty. The women that we have in the military now, they don't do crap. They just pass out medicine to the people that do fight.
We should have had Dana on the panel today, so you guys can go at it. But anyways, go ahead.
Oh crap! Yeah. Well, she don't fight either. But yeah, it's not a real.
The real one or the other one?
Huh?
The real Dana or the other one?
Oh wow, the real Dana with the data. But anyways, go ahead, Game Changer.
Anybody named Dana is not out. Okay. There's fighters and then there's not fighters, and these women are not. G.I. Jane is a myth. All of this is a myth. There, I said it. It's crap.
Yeah. So this is interesting because I see this. I see this potentially two ways. So for the so-called feminists that would be pushing for this, I agree with what Game Changer is saying, that they think that if they prove that they have more skin in the game, perhaps that would loosen up certain things. Now, I don't know what additional there is possible to loosen up for women, because they have everything at this point. I'd argue that women have, when you talk about the skin in the game, rights, what am I saying? Quotient, maybe I'll call it that. I would argue that they have less skin in the game with more rights than we do. So we have more skin in the game and less rights. They have less skin in the game and more rights. So more opportunities, being sort of artificially propped up, and rules changed so that they can occupy the same positions. If you look at what's going on right now, with, you're talking about, is it the real Dana or the other one? Well, yeah, the CNN Dana that lobbed those softball questions to who a person that's trying to prove that they can sit across from Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un or any of the world leaders that mean us harm, and be able to hold her own, and had to have Tim Walz there present for an interview that was supposed to be a sort of a 40, maybe 42, 43 minute sort of segment to occupy an hour plus ads, instead got chopped down to, I've been saying 18 minutes, but apparently it was 16 minutes and some change, where she only talked for about 8 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes. But if you're too harsh and critical, basically what you would be for any male candidate that you disagreed with. If you're that way with her, then it's misogyny like this. You have to protect her. How dare you, say something like that about, about her, and all this kind of stuff. So you have that sort of deal. The other side of this is the folks that are from the other sort of anti-feminist or whatever types. They may see this as a positive, because if you actually have a situation where they're having to do the same things that men have to do, then perhaps that would shut up a lot of complaining about certain things, in pressing and pushing for stuff that is going to end up putting more women in harm's way, when historically women and children have been the things that the patriarchy has been most interested in protecting. So if they're, for instance, in the front line, and they're basically being used as human shields, like the front line of male soldiers were being used as it were, then perhaps that would create a different scenario. Because it's not like you have a bunch of the woman king running around bodying dudes that are 2 and 3 times her size, and that kind of thing. That's not what this actually would look like. So perhaps there would be an actual start. There would be reality would set in, and that would change the dynamic. Now, it's far-fetched. It's all talk. It's never going to happen. In the United States, it would never happen. Nobody would allow that to take place. And even if you said, okay, we can draft them, but they don't have to serve in the same capacity, that's not even going to happen.
Well, I wanted to say this. The Women King was African, West Africans, and everything they do is wrong. Let me start there. Everything that they do is wrong, except that we do need a way to get rid of ugly, unmarriageable women. And putting them on the front line to die for something stupid is the best way to get rid of them. Because if you don't, then what they do is they stay behind and they become feminists and they, influence the women that are worth something. So that is one thing that they did right. But this is something different because, we're a superpower and we're one of the last standing superpowers. They're not actually going to do anything. It's just symbolic. And we don't need no crap like that. We really don't.
Yeah. That's the game changer we know and love. Yes, that's the game changer. Kaizo, drafting the women. Game changer has told us that, hey, if something real happens, such as if it starts going down in Taiwan and the Chinamen come out, okay, and we know it's like, oh snap, Uncle Sam is like, oh crap, I might, this I'm gonna get bludgeoned, right? The women are not gonna be there in the front lines. Well, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, so for me personally, I believe in equality. So I think we should draft women, whether marriageable or not marriageable. The main thing obviously is this all right. The main thing is though we can't put this as a in the same way that we draft men. Let me explain what I mean, right? If you are a woman with a good womb, right, there should be womb testing, right? If your womb is good, then you shouldn't be forced to be drafted. If it's you get what I mean, like I believe in quant analysis, depending on etc. Right, where the women can be best useful. Same way as men, right? If you have a broken leg, maybe you're not going to get drafted, etc. So I 100% believe women should be equal to men because they are equal to us. And also, I think Game Changer is a little bit too old school. Game Changer, we have AI, right? They could be in control rooms, operating these things, all those things, right? Women can add value, and I know, right?
What's going on? What's going on over there, Kaizo? Who's got a knife to your throat?
They're not.
Right. No. I think his girl's listening. He told her to check it out.
Well, yes, but they're not. They're not equal in combat. Let's be clear. I do believe that all men are created equal, but the key word is men. They're not equal in combat. Are they equally valuable to society? Most definitely, in their own way. And the most valuable thing that they can do for society is produce men to fight for it. But instead, they think that listen, this is not real life. What people see on TV, the Dahomey women who were on the movies fighting with machetes, in real life they had guns because they know that they can't really machete a man. It doesn't work like that. You watch these, Angelina Jolie, do a spinning backflip kick to a 250-pound muscle-bound man, and he falls. That does not happen in real life. That does not happen in real life. In real life, she will get the crap beat out of her 90-pound self. That is what actually happens. Let's not pretend like they're equal. Why are they getting their butt kicks in the Olympics by these, these monstrosities that's pretending to be, what is these guys in sports bras? You think that that's a coincidence? They're not built like that. They're not. They're not equal in that capacity. Not even close. It is not even close. Let's not pretend. Let's not follow the illusion that Hollywood is putting out there. That is not even close. They tell you from the moment you understand words, not to hit a girl. They tell you that from the beginning, from you like 1, 2 years old, and you cannot hit your twin sister who is the same age as you. They teach you that from the beginning for a reason. There is a true reason about that. I'll leave it there. It's not even close. Let's not pretend that they're equal in that regard. Equality does not mean sameness. 4 quarters is not the same as a paper dollar, but they're equal. They're completely different. They're completely different, yet valuable in other ways, just not this one. They bring no value. They in the military that we have now, you know what a girl push-up is? You know what a girl push-up is? It's a useless thing. It doesn't even do anything when a man does it. It is a useless thing, but they're allowed to do that. Do you know how many girl push-ups like I can do, it's ridiculous. That listen, it's different for a reason.
Okay. All right. We are going to start wrapping up the show, right? And it's been a good one. It's been a good one indeed. 4 p.m. again, Eastern Standard Time, every Sunday on this channel, on Dr. Thunder's channel. We have Case Closed, highest level conversations on the most relevant topics in this space, ladies and gentlemen. And today we covered a number of topics that are in the news, beginning with the recent shootings in Georgia, right? And are we moving more towards the solution of the problem by addressing the parent, right? Throwing the book at the parent, charging the parent with something, as opposed to sticking with the gun laws and all those other kinds of things. As Kaiser pointed out, hey, you know what? If it's not going to be guns, it's going to be knives, and it's going to be problems. Like, the problem of there are many issues in the West, if you will, and parenting, community, right? And I throw up a little bit when I say stuff like community, but it is important, and moving in that direction, whereby we can have resources, and support systems for schools and in families that impact the likelihood of these school shootings happening, and improving the overall situation is important. And then we talked about the MAGA conspiracy, and as the resident Ted the MAGA, um, I've been defending the MAGA, make America great again. Yes, America was great at a certain time, not anymore. We got, I mean, and speaking of black jobs, black jobs include, like, yelling in buses, being loud in the trains. It used to be blacks. Now, it's other people doing that stuff. But anyways, uh, you know, anyways, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do like a final thoughts, takes, closing, starting with Kaizo, and then Game Changer. And as usual, you'll close us out, Dr. Thunder. Thank you.
Yeah, so for me, I don't believe that the father of Colt should be charged with the charges that he got. I think he should lose his father license. He was negligent, right? Child endangerment, that kind of stuff, 100%. But the rest of the stuff, criminal intent, that for him to have known his child was going to commit this act, that is a little bit far fetched for me. I'll leave it there. Regarding Elon Musk, being sent to audit the federal government spending and other things, yeah, I think that would be great if it could work. But again, the deep state is pretty deep in the pockets of the federal government, so that's going to be something that we are going to have to see. Generally, when it comes to culpability, with this whole arrest of this guy from Telegram, the CEO, Mr. Durov, I think this is going to set precedent actually for it's going to set precedent for actually what's going to happen in changes of law when it comes to technology and how that impacts on responsibility of companies, and whether you are a legal entity as an individual or your company, etc. So yeah, that's going to be interesting for me to kind of watch and find out. In terms of health, I think Americans especially, the food that you guys eat is terrible. Everything is fried. Everything changes from one compound to the next. I think just start eating food again.
All right. Game Changer, what are your closing thoughts?
I definitely agree with Kaizo, in the sense that the food is definitely crap. The Elon Musk thing, the guy is very eccentric, but we have had businessmen, advise presidents in the past. I don't see that changing anytime soon, no matter who's elected. They, anybody can get advice from anyone, whether it's in an official capacity or not. Let's see. As far as censorship goes, I already gave my thoughts on that. And yeah, as far as these shootings go, it's an unfortunate thing. I don't even know if the kids who suffered the most, or suffered fatally, were the bullies. I doubt that they were. If he was only there for a month. Definite, schools are becoming a lot less safe. Children are becoming a lot more undisciplined, and as a result, this is the inevitable outcome. action definitely needs to be taking place for this. I don't know if what we're going through right now is the correct action, but something needs to be done to help to work toward preventing this. And I'm open to ideas on that. But thanks for having me.
Indeed, indeed, and thanks for showing up. Always welcome. Dr. Thunder, give us your final thoughts and close us out.
Yeah. So this recycled gun debate, largely the reason that steps haven't been taken to actually fix the issue with these mass shooter incidents. Active shooter, I should say, is, and this sounds like a conspiracy, but there's too much political capital that can be gained by continuing to, argue the whole gun control thing. It's a totally ridiculous argument. Everybody knows it doesn't make any sense. If you have 400 million guns, you're not going to be able to do anything about that. So gun confiscation is not really a real thing. If you're trying to limit guns in the hands of criminals, you don't do that by making it harder for law-abiding citizens to get guns, and then therefore making it more difficult for them to protect themselves from the criminals that don't follow the rules. That's why they're criminals. They don't follow the rules, and so then they have easier access to being able to do mass damage and create mass carnage. Of course, an outgrowth of the same idea there is gun-free zones. So we don't permit guns here. And so the people that follow the rules, they are defenseless to the people that don't follow the rules. That's exactly what you see in this sort of scenario. Now, I'm not sure what happened at this particular school because they did have some metal detectors and some guards and things. But let me suggest that there would be, if not a total, a move to zero, if not a total move to zero, a significant decrease in this sort of activity, if just a short list of things were done. One, single point of entry with metal detectors, armed guard, and then also with some teachers that have volunteered for this, that are concealed carry and have been trained and go through frequent training for that sort of situation. That's one. Number two, parents of these hooligans, if not outright arrested, if it sticks or not, throw the kitchen sink at them, if it sticks or not, and if they are not arrested, at least that they have to endure a round of media persecution. So they have to sit there in the public square, and answer all these questions about their parenting and how their parenting led to their kid ending the lives of other people's kids. And yeah, and if we don't take those steps, very simple steps, if we don't take those steps, and these are pretty easy things to implement, rather than trying to use these events as a way to forward the gun control conversation, How about using it as a way to propel the protect our children conversation? Protect innocent people conversation. But honestly, I don't think that I think that this is almost treated as, it's collateral damage, but it's kind of, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. That's the way that the politicians move when these events happen, because none of what it is that they say are actually things that we could actually do. They're not things that we could implement. But you could implement those very few things that I just suggested, which would significantly reduce, if not totally reduce. The last thing is to quit saying the names of the hooligans that carry out these atrocities. You do a media silence. You don't show pictures of the person that's being accused of whatever. You show no pictures of them. You show, and you do not use their name in any sort of media stuff. And perhaps punishable by some sort of large fine. If people are still releasing images, there would be some large fine that would be levied. That fixes the problem, because now these guys, they don't have an incentive to do this. And perhaps they just want the get back, but they won't be able to get it that way. So that's all I got.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, we are going to be taking it down till the next time. Okay. And next time, it might be on Dr. Thunder's channel, might be on my channel, who knows? But until then, peace out to the chat. Shout out to the super chatters. That includes Ja, Kaizo, One Man, and of course, Spiritual Logic Hulk for the support. Always appreciated. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play a little bit of this. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity if it hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, could either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble, from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons will breach the towers. Say what? What?
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity if it hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble, from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising. rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised. The battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Christ fed the multitude with only one loaf of bread. Poor people, there is something for you. Don't let the pressures of the system get upon your head. Poor people, there is something for you. Mankind cares not for his sisters anymore. Still, there is something for you. Written in the book of life, we shall live forevermore. There will be something for you. Rasta works are manifest and it a blossom and a bloom. Nature always take its course, the tide is rising with the moon. It only take a spark to put a fire to the fuel. What is hidden in the dark shall be revealed so very soon. Tell Pharaoh, free the prisoners from the dungeons and the doom.